Home court advantage wasn't really a thing during the NBA's regular season. Home teams barely had an advantage, in part because of smaller crowd size. But that's changing by the day. Teams are announcing their audience capacity for the playoff games, and it seems like we're getting closer to packed houses. And if teams approach their policies with common sense and the appropriate safety measures, then it'll be great to have everybody back. Fans are a large part of that playoff experience and that true home court advantage. On top of the court, did you realize that the Lakers were the first team that kept the lights on down low to let you see the people who were there at a game? It had never been done before. I grew up watching a Celtics game on a Sunday afternoon, and they'd be playing the 76ers. And the court was the stage. So the court was lit beautifully, that parquet floor, and you couldn't see anything around it. So the floor stood out even more. Now when you watch a game, everything's illuminated. But the Lakers were the first team to do that many, many, many years ago, decades ago, because they wanted to let you know who was there at the game. Yeah, Paulie.
I've never sat courtside during an NBA game. Is it good? I know it's great from hearing things and seeing like the interaction maybe so, but is it a good to view a basketball game, or is it too low?
I think I've only done it twice. I found it harder to follow, depending on where you're seated, because you could be at one end and then you're not seeing everything at the other end. But when that action's right in front of you, when you can reach out and touch somebody, it's just a unique experience. I go back to when I was in the end zone for the Super Bowl between the Patriots and Seattle when Malcolm Butler had the interception. I'm right under the goalpost. And you might recall after that, the Patriots got the ball back at the 1 yard line, and then there was not an altercation, but close to it. I think Bruce Irvin and Rob Gronkowski were kind of going back at each other in the end zone, and they're like 3 feet away from me. And it was one of those kind of surreal moments that it's right there happening to you instead of in a press box or you're watching on TV. Yes, Eden.
I remember when we were cheerleaders at that Houston game, and we were standing right down close to the basket, like one of the ends, and we were right under the hoop, and you really got a sense for just how physical the game is. Like, I remember, Andrew, I think we talked about it, like, I never played basketball like that, like with like your full body, like they were like grown men just smashing each other, like, dang.
Like football.
You had Houston against Central Florida. Taco Falls was out there.
Yeah.
And you see somebody who looks tall on TV, and then you see them when they come on the court. I was at Manute Bol's debut as a player. It was a preseason game in Washington, D.C., and he came out on the floor and had his warm-ups on. It was, at first I thought there was a guy on stilts, and he had like warm-up. He was like a mascot or something, and I realized that was Manute Bol going out there, and you'd just never seen somebody that tall at 7'6" or whatever he was. Yeah, McLovin.
What about Sean Bradley when you first saw him? He was gigantic.
Yeah,
right?
he was 7'6".
And Yao, I've never seen Yao in person.
Yao might be the largest man on the planet, and that includes Shaq. I mean, Yao's a big guy, and his head is big. He's got big legs. He's a big, big, big man. Mark Eaton was another one, but he wasn't like huge. He was just tall. But yeah, you're around these guys and you go, oh my God. Like, I couldn't imagine going to the hoop against a guy like, who's 7'7" or 7'6". George Murison. Remember George? Like, he was, and he came in to do a SportsCenter commercial, and he was a delight to be around. Very playful. Yeah, Paul.
Years ago, we were at the Rose Bowl doing sidelines, and Bryant McKinnie was the star offensive tackle for the Miami Hurricanes. He had to be 6'8", 330. I think that's what he's listed.
Yeah.
They called him Mount. He was gigantic. Shaq was on the sidelines. McKinney went up and said hello to Shaq, and we were all standing there watching. And Bryant McKinnie looked small for probably the first time in his adult life.
Yeah. Well, you think about somebody's big in football. Man, he's 6'4", and That's a shooting guard in the NBA. Man, that guy, Jonathan Ogden is 6'8". Okay. Like Rick Mahorn was that kind of size. Jeff Rulin. But these guys who, when you see big, there's basketball big, and then it feels like there's baseball. Man, he's a big power hitter. He's 6'2", about 220. Okay. But it seems like, man, that guy's big in baseball. Yes, Eden.
This says the average height and weight of an offensive tackle is 6'5", 314. 314's a big dude.
Yeah, it is.
Especially when it's 6'5", 314.
Yeah. Yeah.